Well, the Guinness Pro14 made the decision to suspend the league on Thursday, and we can have a chat now with the Pro14's tournament director, David Jordan, just to get some facts across. How are you, mate?
I'm good, yeah. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, mate. Look, it's absolute carnage out there, not just in sport, but in the world. And there's unprecedented turn of events across everything as we've seen. But from a league perspective, I know there's a load of conversations still happening, but where do we stand when it comes to the Guinness Pro14?
Well, we made a decision last week to pause our tournament, to suspend our tournament. We haven't set a date for restart yet. We're obviously considering our options, but until things become clearer, we think it's probably not appropriate to actually try to look at rescheduling until matters clearly start to improve.
And when you look at it compared to, say the Premiership, for example, I know it's very early stages, but I think the Guinness Pro 14 is going to be a lot more complicated potentially with Italy, of course, South Africa, the travel aspect around that. Is that clearly going to be something that you're looking at? But do you think that does throw a more difficult scenario in the mix compared to something like the Premiership?
Yeah, I mean, I think comparing ourselves with Premiership is probably not appropriate in these circumstances, because at the end of the day, we're an international tournament. We deal with, our clubs come from 5 different unions, but we actually have 6 different governments that we are dealing with in terms of the measures that they're putting in place. Also, the outbreak itself is at different levels and in different territories. So we're in a very complex environment. And as you said, we've got countries like Italy, we're in complete lockdown. We've got Ireland, so near to that same position. South Africa, just recently, in a matter of days, have just announced travel restrictions of people coming from infected areas into their country. So, it was inevitable for us that we would have to postpone our tournament for the foreseeable future.
And how important was it to act so quickly? And also, how much of an impact or how much of a voice did some of the provinces and clubs around the game have on that decision? Yeah,
look, I mean, we had to act quickly. So, because of the logistical factors in our tournament, more so than perhaps others, we didn't, some of our provinces, for example, say, well, like, for example, Leinster and Edinburgh were due to go to South Africa in the next couple of weeks' time, if they'd headed there, but then they couldn't get back. So, apart from the player welfare aspect, which is obviously top of our priority, from a logistical point of view, the practicalities were such that we just couldn't carry on. And some of our clubs now have basically suspended, team training. So they're not even working together as a group. They're working on sort of pre-season type training programs. So, it was inevitable, really, that we had to make the decision that we have made.
And have you made some discussions or had some discussions already around contingency plans around what could happen in the future? I mean, ultimately, we're in a state at the minute where we don't know what is further down the line, but you've got to have some idea of completely cancelling it or postponing it or reassessing in a few weeks' time. What's the situation at the moment?
Yeah. At the moment, we're looking at various options, and they're not things that we would necessarily publicise at this stage, because what's very apparent in this circumstance, you make one decision today, it's completely changed tomorrow. So we're certainly, if we can get our tournament up and running again, it's certainly something we'd like to do. But I don't think that it's certainly our board is of the view that there's no point trying to put sort of restart dates out there, because we just don't know whether we can deliver them.
And you look at the financial situation around it, and I know it is sport, and I get that there's a big element around people personally, but on the league itself, what kind of implications are there? So, if there's no games played, because it's more than specifically just the team, isn't it? It's the rights around the rugby as well, and everything that revolving around that. Like, for the Guinness Pro 14 itself, like, how difficult will it be if there's no games played again this season?
Well, I mean, at this stage, we're still looking into those sort of implications. At the end of the day, a lot will depend on where we end up in terms of how many matches we're able to play and at what stage of the tournament we can complete things. So it'd be too early for us to actually to make that call, but clearly there are implications there.
Well, thank you very, very much for coming on the show, and hopefully things can get back up and running as soon as possible. But I appreciate your hard work there, David.